this is between us.
ASAP.
Yeah, that's all. That's the most perfect one to show the area.
Would have liked to have introduced the public hearing tonight, but I would like to get it
Official.
next meeting, get those public hearings back for
We're setting, I think we're setting that public hearing.
because this gives the sheriff something to do.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, that sounds good.
I'll send you an email too.
I'm in their face now. I only sneezed a little bit.
My voice?
In here, I told you you weren't going to have much to do. I think I lied. No, I'm not. I'm a public servant.
You wish it was only that.
Yeah.
No.
I did it again. What did I do?
I think you got
See if it's on.
He may have missed tonight, been missing tonight's meeting.
Okay.
I can't remember. No, because you can't. We don't have the authorization to excuse someone. Absent. I will say something about why. Yeah. Yes, we can't. That's something that Rich told me. Yeah. Rich says you really can't do that. It's been done, and that's the way that for years.
Doing it for years.
That's all.
Okay.
So it's never,
You cannot be excused from a meeting
it's not a word that,
and be used, right? It's not,
In other words, you're able.
yeah, no such thing.
yeah, right.
Yep. I'd like to call to order the Chi-Li Town Board meeting for May 17th, 2023. If everyone would please rise and join us for the invocation and Pledge of Allegiance.
God our Father, as we gather for this meeting, we seek your blessings on the tasks before us. Bless our efforts with clear insight, our deliberations with wisdom, our work with clarity and accuracy, and our decisions with impartiality. And Heavenly Father, we remember those who have made the ultimate sacrifice for the freedoms we enjoy every day. Please hold our servicemen and women in your arms. Cover them with your sheltering grace and your presence as they stand in the gap for our protection. We also ask for your blessings on the homes of their families, and that your peace, provision, and strength fill their lives. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Councilman DeCory?
Here.
Councilwoman Spare?
Here.
Councilman Valerio?
Here.
Councilman Slattery is absent, and Supervisor Dunning.
Here. Other officials and advisors present this evening to my far right, Town Clerk Jenny Ignatowski. Counsel for the town to my far left, Jared Hurt. At the side table, we have Commissioner of Public Works, Superintendent of Highways, David Lindsay, Insurance Counselor Scott Bonnewell, and from my office, Don Forte. Our stenographer is Sandy Hewitt. And I would just like to mention, with Councilman Slattery's absence this evening, he is on a charity ride where he's riding his bicycle from Rochester. He left Charlotte on May 8th, and he's riding his bicycle down to Florida for charity. He's got 3 charities that he's raising money for: Honor Flight, the Missing and Exploited Children and the Pirate Toy Fund are all benefiting from his ride. So that's why he's absent this evening. We wish him well on his journeys as he travels down through these states. My understanding he's had a couple little challenges already, but he seems to be doing very well, very good things. So just wanted to make that announcement as to why Councilman Slattery was not able to be here this evening. So in the event of an emergency, if you would, please use the exits to the corners of the room. Anyone with a cell phone, if you'd please turn it off or set it to vibrate, we'd appreciate it. We do not have any presentations this evening. We do have 3 public hearings. The first public hearing is the rezoning of the westerly portion of 4415 Buffalo Road General Business and 4423 Buffalo Road R115 Residential Single Family 15,000 square foot minimum lot to RM Residential Multiple Family. Just a brief statement before we start this. What this town board is tasked with at this, for this particular application is determine whether the zone is appropriate and what is the, not necessarily anything to do with any site plans, drainage, the building itself, what's going to go there. We have to look at what would be the greatest use, the most intense use under the residential multifamily zoning that could be built there. A lot of issues, we've seen some chatter, and I've had some phone calls, which all great, it's all fine, we welcome that, and had some comments that refer to things that are more site plan issues. Should this application go past, we are not going to vote on this tonight. We hold the public hearing, we listen to the public has to say, then we'll have a conversation amongst ourselves about what the project looks like, or what the rezoning, I should say, is about, and whether or not it's appropriate for this location. Once once we make that decision, we would likely vote one way or the other at our July meeting. June, oh, that's right, we're still in May, I'm sorry. June meeting, I apologize.
June 14th, yeah.
I'm ahead of myself just a little bit by a month. So we wouldn't vote on this till our June meeting, so you know. But there are, like, again, we are not tasked with anything as it relates to what would be heard at the planning board. If this moves forward, as I said, then this would, then there would be a public hearing held by the planning board for all of the other site plan type issues, the design, the size, the traffic, the whatever else is happening at that facility. So I'd just like to offer that. So with that, I will open this public hearing and ask that anyone that would like to speak, please step up to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and you shall be heard. Did you want to say something first, Chris, or?
Yeah, if I can give you a quick overview of the project. Or...
Is that okay? Yeah, that's fine with us. Go ahead. Go right ahead.
Oh, yeah, put together a little bit of comments just to try to give everybody some details. My name is Chris Schultz. I'm the consulting engineer on the project. We've been working on this piece for a bit of time, and we've come up with a conceptual plan as depicted here. What it entails is initially a reuse of the commercial with the construction of a one-story professional office building as depicted here. So I was asked not to speak away from the mic, and I also wanted to make sure the renderings were visible to everybody. So I'll keep running back and forth to try to facilitate that. All right, so the existing two-story professional office building is depicted in the green area to the right. That building for years has been office, doctor's offices, but has actually suffered from the fact that that type of space, especially with the two-story, is no longer high demand for those professionals. They are actually have moved out, look for other spaces that are one-story in nature, and currently we're looking at a vacant building, and we need to do something with it. So that motivated the initial, what can we do here? The one-story professional office, which is located just to the right of the green area, is what's proposed. At one point when we started this, the last physician in the two-story building was going to potentially jump into the one-story building if it was possible to get that done in time, and unfortunately it wasn't. So right now we have a building that's vacant. So we have the existing two-story professional office, and the idea with the rezoning is to allow that to be converted to residential use. And then to the left, we're proposing 3 townhouse buildings, and this would go along with the idea of transitioning zoning code from commercial to multifamily to single-family residential, which would be the existing parcel to the west. So the redevelopment of the site would basically take a parcel that is really not going anywhere and potentially turn it into a viable taxable entity. So the details a little bit on the conversion of the existing office building. This is a rendering of the building itself. For the most part, the building is going to stay the same. From the exterior, the difference is there will be an addition put on the south end, which would facilitate a second access point, and also the elevator. And what you have is the conversion to apartments. Currently, what's proposed in the 2-story would be 6 2-bedroom apartments, 2 1-bedroom apartments, and 4 studio apartments. So we'd have a total of 12 apartments in the renovated building. Then the third part of this would be the new townhouse buildings. Okay, so we actually came up with a name for the development. We're calling it Berkeley Place. Try to tie it all together, and the intent is not only to renovate the existing building, but anything new would tie into the same look, same architecture, so it all is a uniform development overall. This townhouse building in particular is currently built, has been built a number of times by my clients over in the town of Ogden. It's a very popular unit. It's been around and used throughout Monroe County. Basically, it's set up where the ends of the buildings are 2 bedrooms. So if you look, you can't probably see the floor plan, but on the ends, there are 2-bedroom units, and all the interiors are 3-bedroom units. They're 2 stories, so you basically have a main floor with the garages, with 1 bedroom, and then upstairs you have the additional bedrooms. We're proposing a total of 20 units, 20 townhouse units. They'd all have garages. We were before the planning board earlier this year and allowed us to subdivide out the property, the existing commercial property. This is the plan we brought before that board and basically created this property line. That basically made a standalone parcel to retain the commercial zoning for the 1-story professional office and set up the eventual parcel for the proposed rezoning. Into 1 lot. But first things first, we need to address the potential rezoning to make this work. And that's pretty much it. There will be a need to get a few zoning variances, but nothing significant from a standpoint of what you normally look at when you're trying to redevelop the site.
Chris, can I ask a question? The one site where the professional office building is now is zone general business, correct?
That's correct, sir.
So the property owner at this time could put in a Dollar General,
Oh,
a
sure.
Burger King, a Taco Bell, KFC, McDonald's.
Yeah, they
and
could
would
go in and
require no
they
authorization
could
from
clear
this
the whole
board,
site and just
correct?
do a couple out parcels for anything that came along.
Has that been looked at all?
To be honest, they did look at all those options and they prefer this idea.
Okay.
They know there's a demand for this type of housing. On their project over off of Whittier Road in the town of Ogden, they are 80 to 90% full on their townhouses. As soon as they're constructed, they're rented out. So there's a high demand for that type of housing. And even with the apartments, with the studio 1 and 2 bedroom options, we really are covering a broad range of potential tenants.
And on the residential property, I know my building department manager's not here, and he's more of a code expert than I am, but I believe you could still build a duplex on that single-family lot, correct?
Certainly, yes.
Right.
Without the reason.
Without the rezoning, correct. I
That's correct.
just want to be clear on that, though.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right.
So with that, again, I will ask anyone that would like to offer any comments, please step up to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and you will be heard.
Zoe Christanis, 31 Hubbard. Can I bring this up to you? I have something for you.
Sure.
You can leave it. in
You
its
can leave,
own
I'll get it to him. I'll put it in his box, thank you.
Thank you.
The first page I've given you is the zoning map for North Chili. I have circled the existing multi-residential sites, and as you can see, North Chili already has a large portion of multi-residential. I believe we have more than contributed to the housing market crisis. We don't want any more in North Chili. We don't need any more. Enough is enough. I understand the property owner has the right to apply for rezoning, but that does not mean you have to say yes to that. The Union Street development, the ever-growing Union Street development between Union and Attridge is unbelievable to me. You're driving into North Chili on Union Street, coming from Chili Avenue, you look to your left and all you see is people's back doors, outdoor grills, propane tanks, chairs, toys, everything. Just people's stuff. There's no berm in place, there's no attractive landscaping to pretty it up. It's just stuff, and this is the introduction into North Chili, which to me is very sad at this point. Now, I was invited to Mr. Gizzy's development at Buffalo and Whittier Road, and I went and I saw, and it looked to me as if there were as many buildings as could possibly be fit onto a piece of land were put there. The tiniest of yards, which prohibit any sort of landscaping besides grass and maybe a small tree planted here and there. And when you look back from a distance, it is just a mass of buildings. And to put something like this at the Buffalo and Attridge site would be an absolute eyesore. Another issue is traffic, of course. We have one traffic light in North Chili, and the traffic is very bad at certain times of day, daily. We can't add to this situation the way it is. I live on Hubbard Drive, which is the first side street after this project heading west. And we already have a bit of cut-through traffic on our street. And these people drive excessive speeds. They don't allow enough space for pedestrians when they're going by many times because they're in a big hurry. They just want to get from one end of the street to the other and avoid the light at North Chili. And it's a safety concern for all our pedestrians, kids playing, Roberts students that are on track and field that like to run through our neighborhoods, all of that. I would like to also know if anyone is referring to the master plan when looking at projects like this. I have just myself acquainted with the master plan, and I find it to be a great piece of work. A group of people spent a lot of time, thought, and effort in putting this together, 187 pages. And all throughout the plan, you hear maintaining the character of Chili, preserving the beauty, implementing attractive landscaping. And there's a few projects I've seen where there is no master plan reference, and I'm assuming that the purpose of this plan was for all of the town boards to reference when projects are brought up and brought to fruition. The last page I gave you is a bit of the conversation that you had in August of 2022 when discussing this project and concerns that you had. And I'm just reminding you of that conversation and also reminding you that we are your residents. We want you to represent us, and we want you to vote no on the rezoning of this property. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak at the public hearing?
My name is James Bushard. I live at 28 Parkway Drive. I stand and applaud you. I've been here since 1972 from the city. When I stand and try to get across the street over at the gas station, at the market, if I'm walking, boy, I'll tell you, the traffic is like a racetrack going down Union Street. We're burdened enough with the taxes. Every time the school taxes over it, you go to the high school, the grammar school, they're always wanting more money for buses, etc. And we foot the bill because we want our children to learn, to grow. All of us are here representing and telling you that we're not satisfied with this. You can't keep on building and building. Tax burden, etc. go up. Every time I turn around, the taxes are going up on the property. I've got to fight for them to look at it, which they did. Then I saved a few bucks. I am here and I say no. We don't need this. We need more police for the speeding that goes on Union Street. Kids are playing basketball. A lot of kids around. Complexes everywhere now. They're growing like crazy. Multi-family, single family. It's out of control. This is where I say the buck stops here. Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak at the public hearing?
I have some pictures. My name's Carmela Delma. This is my property.
Can you, when you get back to the microphone, make sure you say your name so the stenographer can catch it.
My name's Carmela Delba, and I live at 4437 Buffalo Road, and it's right down the street from where this development is going to be. I know you said that we're not going to talk about the drainage, but that is my backyard, that we've been putting up with that since 1986. So we're wondering when this development comes up, where is the water going? My pool heaves every year. We just changed all the walls around my pool. We go through lawnmowers, it's just constant water in the backyard. So we're trying to figure out where this development is going. There's like a ditch there. Is that going to be cleaned out? Is there going to be a pond?
Those would be things, again, that this board isn't making any determinations on. That would be for the planning board. So again, if this application moves forward and they go into the planning board, those are questions that you would bring up with the planning board.
Okay.
But I would also, if it's a drainage issue that appears to be from some other type of, that the town may have some responsibility for, we have a drainage committee that I would highly recommend that you.
We don't have a drainage
Oh,
committee anymore.
We've
oh, that's right.
talked.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I forgot about that because we
I'm
got.
the liaison
Thank you
here.
so much. Thank you. Thank you. I'm
We've
still
had-
thinking because.
we've had
I'm thinking
guys
because
come.
we used to send people to the drainage committee all the time. But I would highly recommend if it's something that maybe our guys can take a look at. David, did you catch that address? Could you give me-
4437 Buffalo Road. He's been at my house before.
Okay, so he's seen it?
Yes.
Is it, okay, so I'll let you can work.
Yeah, it's been a
If it's something
while.
that we have some responsibility in,
Yep.
we'll take a look. But David will take your call and be happy to discuss it with
Okay.
you.
But
But again, the issues, as far as this development go, have absolutely nothing to do with what we would do as a board.
Okay. And my next thing is, again, with all the people, that are coming in with, the housing development, stuff like that, I live across the street, a house that looks terrible, number one, a house that's vacant, number two, and another house where there's people are renting there, and they just got rid of a dumpster that was sitting there for 5 months, a big, huge container dumpster. I'm sick of looking at it. I went through all the avenues. Finally, the other day, they came to remove it. They come with their cars. I mean, what I'm trying to say is this going to bring more riffraff into our town if we do this? You know what I'm saying?
Again, this really has nothing to do with the rezoning application, but I will say one thing. Based on what this developer is proposing, riffraff is not likely going to be able to afford these townhouses. They are upper scale. They are very much upper scale type townhouses. So I don't see where you're going to. These are
Okay,
people with good
okay.
resources. Quite frankly, I don't know that I could afford to live in one of these.
Right.
It's likely more than what I pay for my mortgage today. So
Just making sure, because, there's bad things going on everywhere with Speedway right there at the corner, that it closes down at a certain time. It's cash only. There's been people there that have been being robbed in the parking lot and stuff like that. We just don't want any more of that, to come into the town of Chi-Li.
understood.
So, but that's all I
Thank
wanted
you.
to say. Thank you.
Anyone else?
My name is Kathy Netter. I live at 82 Attridge Road. I have a statement I'd like to make. However, I would also like to give you this petition, if I may. Signed by at least 25 people that will be affected by this that can't be here this evening to voice their concern. Again, my name is Kathy. I live at 82 Attridge Road. I've enjoyed a career as a banking executive, a real estate broker, a landlord, and property manager over my working lifetime. I'm here today to strenuously oppose any rezoning of the parcels located at 4415 Buffalo Road and 4423 Buffalo Road from R115 single-family residential to multifamily residential. I am asking that you deny this and any application to rezone these parcels due to the promised and expressed covenant of the Town of Chi-Li Master Plan that zones this area as a single-family residential with a minimum lot size of 15,000 square foot. This covenant and promise made by the Town of Chi-Li was a key reason in our purchase of land and the building of our home nearly 40 years. We relied upon the wisdom and promise from your predecessors to invest our life savings in our community neighborhood. A large portion of our neighborhood community are generational family homes that we are strongly invested in. This is not a suitable area for any multifamily residential units designed to resemble barrack buildings or internment facilities. We ask that you deny this application by a non-resident carpetbagger who only seeks to enrich his pockets off of our backs. There is plenty of usable land in the street numbers 100 to 200 area of Stony Point Road if he desires to build Army barrack housing. He knew when this property was purchased years ago that the zoning has single-family residential. He has the audacity to believe that the rules do not apply to him. I understand his right to apply for rezoning and put an application in. We are asking you to deny this. This man seeks to decrease our property values to line his own pockets, which will not come back into the town of Chili because he is not a resident. Any rezoning will destroy the quality and fabric of life through increased crime, noise, trash volume, and unacceptable large traffic density issue. Our neighborhood has already been negatively affected by the increase in crime from the multifamily projects that already engulf us and are trying to force us off our homes and our land. The Monroe County Sheriff's Office arrives nightly, many times, 2 to 3 times a night, to crime calls at Union Square. We have all had to install alarms, cameras to protect ourselves. I have constant trespassers and illegal hunters in my backyard land. Renters, by their very definition, are itinerant and transient and have no investment or appreciation of their neighborhood. They have no reason to maintain it. We all have our lives invested in our neighborhood community. We respectfully ask you to deny this rezoning application so as to protect and preserve our quiet enjoyment, sanctity, and family fabric of our neighborhood community. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak at the public hearing?
I don't know if I could tap that. I'm just going to speak from my heart. That was excellent. But Mr. Dunning, board members, thank you for this opportunity to speak my concerns. And as I was turning in, and this is I've been frequenting this building for my own zoning issues, but so I love this area. But I was
sorry.
Can I get your name and address just for the record? Thank you.
Janet Lasesi, 20 Ramblewood Drive.
Could you repeat that?
Janet Lasesi.
Janet, okay.
20 Ramblewood Drive, which is in that same vicinity of the building issue. And actually, as we were turning in here, I noticed a wonderful parcel of land for sale that would be wonderful for housing. There. That's just an aside.
Somebody's already trying to do that.
Okay, there you go. I'm a 20-year-plus resident of North Chili. I have lived on Ramblewood Drive on the Buffalo Road side. It's a long street, so I have to designate that for all this time. I love our quaint town. We have many local businesses that maintain the small town feel, and I love that about North Chili. I want to say North Chili because we're special. We're in North Chili. NCFR, only locals would recognize those initials. The Glue Factory, Jitters, wonderful family medical practice, and which was a dental practice I could walk to, a quaint plaza, which all of us could walk to many places in North Chili. I love taking my grandkids on walks to get Dunkin' or something. We have a nice small town feel. Additional opportunities for housing since I moved in 2002. When I moved in, there have been additional housing on Buffalo Road and Union Street. There have been much additional housing, which I call the center of town, Union and Buffalo. That's the center of North Chili. I consider that. With all the additional development, it has been increasingly difficult to make a turn out of my street. The traffic, and it goes down from 50, and it should be slowing down to in the 30s, and it often does not. I cannot even imagine what this proposed development would mean to traffic, our small town feel, the safety of our residents. There is not adequate frontage, as I can see, as with other developments such as Cottage Grove right adjacent to it, which is attractive because there's the park and it's set way back. It's very attractive with the trees. There's not enough frontage to make that as attractive and a pleasant appearance. I would sincerely suggest an alternate location more appropriate for multifamily dwellings. Another concern is the potential impact on housing values. I would also appreciate a no vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak at the public hearing?
My name's Bill Smallfuss. My property is probably one of the more affected. I'm 35 Attridge Road. I've already got a driveway and parking lot to my north, and this would cover the whole back of my backyard. I mean, this is basically a yes or no up here tonight. And I just can't see this sitting in those, that area that's there now. I don't care to think of looking at it from my backyard. So my vote's no.
I'm the other half, Linda Smallfuss at 35 Attridge Road. And I appreciate all of you here, and as you have a concern for Chili, we do too, specifically North Chili. And as others have made a comment, I don't think this fits the character or the persona of North Chili. It's a small, nice little village, a town. So I don't think this fits. As others have mentioned, there's a concern about traffic, effect on the school system. Class sizes are already large. They're already trying to get competent teachers. You said this will be high-end townhouses is what you're proposing. Obviously, there'll be some families there, more traffic. You're looking at how many units, as at least 45 more cars. Our home will be affected by the lights, the noise, privacy, obviously. Attridge Road is up a little bit higher. We have a walkout basement. We will have no privacy at all in our backyard, despite a berm or a fence, which we will positively push for if this goes forward. Already, where our yard is positioned, people cut through our yard already to get from Buffalo to Attridge. So we are already seeing traffic through there, especially with the new development up at Union Square. In addition to the privacy, I guess we have not had a concern with people stealing packages from our front porch, but I am wondering with this increased number of people and apartments if that would be compromised. I'm also, I guess I will say, concerned about the market value of our home. We have been there 45 years. We have worked hard with blood, sweat, and tears. Our assessment proves that as it's gone up and up. And so I really don't think my home will be as marketable, having two sides with pavement, lights, and two-story houses looking out of my backyard. I have a concern about how in North Chili and Chili in general, how just our green trees and things are being cut down and just leveled. In this particular particular property on on Buffalo Road, there were at least two huge trees, which were 75 to 100 years old. Now, we are not going to get those kind of trees back, and that's really important for our pollution and our quality of air in this. If you look at King's Corner behind the Encounter Church, that's all leveled. You look on Buffalo Road before you get to Manitou, all those trees are leveled. I mean, we're affecting the beauty, but also our quality of air in our town. Obviously, there's a lack of green landscaping. If I went to Union Point and I saw, as others have mentioned, it's just one building after another with very little green space. I'm concerned about, if this proposal goes through, the practicality of getting emergency equipment in there, like fire trucks, ambulances, the maneuverability. I'm concerned about, where does the snow go? Our house, we're right there. As others have mentioned, we have a very wet yard. In the past, we've had the town come and look at it and just said, oh no, this is fine, this is normal, we have a garden in the back. We have battled with trying to grow things there. It's always wet and soupy in the spring. You have to wear your boots back there, as all of you have also mentioned. I don't think there's enough business, and reviewing the notes from previous town meetings and comments, the term neighborhood commercial. If these are built, I don't see where that is going to help the revenue of our local business. There aren't enough restaurants, there wouldn't be enough stores for people to stay here to eat, to put their money into North Shiloh and our community. They're going to go other places because there isn't that available to them, those kinds of things. I have heard the term, and the supervisor mentioned that tonight, intense use of property. So that was a new term to me. It may be new to others here. Could you define that for us? What does that mean?
Yes. And Linda knows I've had this conversation with her, and I want to thank you for the phone calls. You are actually the only one that actually made the phone call, a couple phone calls. We had some very lengthy discussions to understand. So I appreciate your efforts and what you've done to try and understand what some of the guidelines are and things that we've worked through. But intense use is simply what is the, in a multifamily residential district, based on our code, what is the biggest and largest thing that could be put on that piece of land? This does not meet that. Just this proposal right here does not, it doesn't rise to that level. But if the developer decided at some point, and this then goes, this is becomes a planning board issue after that, right? If this town board rezones this property to multi-residential, our understanding is at this point is this is what's going to be developed. That doesn't mean the developer really has to do that. They could, but that becomes a planning board issue, no longer the town board. Likely the planning board, as they have previously for this location, denied applications for larger, more intense use of that property with basically the same kind of, it would have been the same zoning. But the planning board has denied both of those, both of the times that's been brought up in that area. So basically it's just what is the biggest, worst thing that could happen in that spot under that zone. And if you look at, and I don't have my code book here in front of me, but there are a few things in there that could be built under multi-residential.
Okay, the other is, I learned, incentive zoning. So could you also give us the definition? Others may not know.
Well, this isn't
what that
incentive
means.
zoning. This is a rezone.
I'm just asking a question.
Oh, that's
about
fine. No, that's fine.
What is incentive zoning?
All right, to be perfectly clear, this is not an incentive zoning application. But incentive zoning is an opportunity for the town, because we do have one for a public hearing here this evening. So what happens under incentive zoning is a developer comes in they have a piece of land, they want to develop that does not meet the exact criteria of the area. We haven't defined it in our code. There's some parameters in there that just don't meet up with our code. We look at that particular application and say, well, maybe this is a good spot for what they want to do. This is, the one application we're coming in here today, it's in a somewhat remote area of the town. Is this something that we should consider to the incentive zoning? The incentive is, generally speaking, they offer an amenity back to the town, and then the town grants them their zoning that they're requesting. In incentive zoning, however, the applicant has to specify pretty much everything and anything they want to do on that particular space, including setbacks, any zoning variances that would need to be acquired, anything that would need to happen to that property, with the exception of some of the site plan, the design, the site plan, the layout, and how some of those things work. Those have to be brought up in the incentive as a part of it. An example of incentive zoning is over on Scottsville Road. You'll notice that the U of R has a large parking area. The town of Chiayi does not have a standalone parking facility in our code. It's not permitted anywhere. It wasn't. Many years ago, the University of Rochester came to the town of Chiayi. Said, they bought the old Logan. It was the old Logan's Party House, for those of you who've been here long enough. They tore down the party house. They came to us for incentive zoning. I think that was before me, slightly before.
Before you,
yeah.
At least 15, 16 years ago.
Yeah, so they came before the town board for incentive zoning to create a parking lot. They then give us, right now they're at about $35,000 a year. They pay as part of that incentive. So there are other examples of incentive zoning that we've given out. There's a developer that didn't want to tie downspouts into the sewer. The DEC recommends these days that downspouts actually be dispersed out into the yard and be able the water to be able to disperse amongst the green space in people's yards. So that person pays for every house that's built. They pay, I believe it's $1,000 per unit, per house that's built, for that incentive not to tie into downspouts. That was in the zoning. It's a zoning issue, but it's not, in a sense, it's not a zoning issue. But it's incentive zoning is what that is. Is that clear enough? I may not, hopefully if you have questions on that, I'm free, you can call me. I'm more than happy to answer this question.
But the funds for those, just to add one more comment to the supervisor, he's correct, but the funds for those, for example, the U of R parking lot, those funds, we have to specify at the beginning of every year how we plan to use that money. And it's not $35,000 that could just go into the general fund and be spent on paying for our bills. It has to be spent on something to help the town. And right now, the latest expenditures in the last several years, we've been putting into our sidewalk fund to increase the amount of sidewalks, to make it easier to connect sidewalks that are required by our planning board for certain projects. And that $1,000 the same thing will go into a fund to help pay for something that benefits the residents of the town. Just want to help make it a little more clear as to, because everyone's probably sitting there, well, what do you do with that money? So, if that helps.
Has this developer asked for incentive zoning in the past?
They did, and they got, the applications that came before us were not recommended to the planning board. But again, these were much bigger facilities, a much more intense use of the property. And the plan, what happens with incentive zoning is the progress of how this works is the applicant comes in for incentive zoning, they come to the town board, they give a presentation, and they ask for an incentive zoning based on what we call a sketch plan, just some very basic information about the property and what they want to do. So then we say, okay, it looks okay, let's let the planning board vet the project. So then it goes to the planning board, and the planning board then says, yeah, it's a good incentive for the development, it's a good place for the development, it's a good development. Let's go ahead, and we're gonna recommend that it be rezoned for incentive zoning. Then it comes back to the town board, and we go through our process, kind of similar to what we're doing here. They have a public hearing, we have a public hearing, there's another public hearing, I believe, later with the planning board. So there's a lot of opportunity for the public to speak on these. But on the previous applications for a much more intense use, the planning board it did not recommend, I should say, the incentive zoning.
As we spoke over the phone one time, to me, it just seems rather unethical that a developer can pay you money in order to get you to change your mind regarding his proposed zoning.
They're paying the people at the town, as Councilwoman Spare mentioned. This money goes into projects that the town, or you and I, would actually have to pay for through tax dollars. So as Councilwoman Spare mentioned, I mean, we've put a significant amount of money into sidewalks, all through incentive zoning type stuff. Some of our parks development and parks equipment and things like that have been done through money that we've gotten through incentive zoning. Some of that money goes directly into the Parks and Recreation Reserve. Some of it goes into Sidewalk Reserve. Some of it just goes into these reserves that it ends up saving taxpayer money. So it's not like any of us get any of that money. It's not for us. We don't get it, but we get the same benefit of, we all live in Chi-Li too. We also get all the same benefits of our tax dollars not going for that particular projects.
I will question you on one thing. You just made a statement that said, pay us to change our mind. These are
The town, not you individually.
No, but you made a statement about changing our mind. Minds have not been made up when they come in. They come in with an idea or a project and a description of that. And as the supervisor stated, it goes through the whole process. So minds have not been made up and aren't changed. It's to help show a benefit because they want something. So it does show a benefit, but it doesn't mean that, we would change our minds if they didn't pay for that. It would change our minds, or we would think differently of it, or we do think differently because they paid us. No, the decisions that I make based on this rezone have to do whether I feel it's the best use of that property and it's in the best interest of North Chi-Li. Not have anything to do with whether or not they may offer or they may pay us for an incentive. So I just like to make that clear because sometimes I think everyone gets the wrong impression.
To be clear, though, this is not incentive.
And it's not
That's
an
correct.
incentive
This
zoning.
is not
but-
incentive zoning.
Right, but since it came up, and
This
there's
is not.
quite a few people here in the room, I just like to make sure that's very clear. Okay?
So when we talk intense use of property, the criteria that you use, you said, is what's the best use of it and what's the worst use. So in this particular proposal, what is the best use? What is the worst use?
Well, the most intense use, looking at the code, here's what the code, the code book is here. I pulled up the code book as I read to you when we talked on the phone. What could be built there, permitted uses, apartment houses, multiple family dwellings and dwelling groups, and condominiums, which are simply apartment houses under certain specified rules of ownership. Normal accessory uses designed for an integral part of a development and scaled for the exclusive use of the residents of the development. Customary home occupations is defined in another section of the code. And then there's special permit uses, which is home businesses, which again would be otherwise customary home occupation, single family dwellings, and duplexes. So there could be several duplexes built under that code, which is in essence what these townhouses are just conjoined duplexes.
Duplexes can be built in single.
Correct.
family.
Recreational uses such as parks, playgrounds, golf courses, driving ranges, country clubs, swimming clubs, tennis clubs, not including such intensive recreation uses as a racetrack or amusement park. So, not that it's big enough, but they could put in a driving range, they could put in a country club or a swimming club or a tennis club or something like that over on the property, which fits in with that. In contrast, the property that's zoned general business, that it's currently zoned, that the developer could easily do without our blessing or without us doing anything, which would be any permitted use in restricted business or neighborhood business, but photographic artist supplies and studios, music and dancing schools, art galleries, banks and financial institutions, variety stores and gift, notion, toy, pet, hobby, video rental, sales and bicycle shops, garden supply, hardware, home furnishings, health food, furniture and liquor stores, book, stationery, jewelry, leather, luggage, instrument store, department and clothing stores, new auto parts and household appliances, restaurants, theaters, not including a drive-in theater, bowling alleys and places of public assemblage, health and or fitness centers, video stores excluding adult video. Thank you, Town Board, for that added addition at one time.
Yeah, we did that one.
Pharmacies with or without drive-through service, grocery stores, and then there's a bunch of specially permitted use such as hotels, motels, veterinary offices, and some type of outdoor sales. So that's what could be built there now.
So I would like to say, and I'll end this with, I don't think there's a need for townhouses. There's more of a need for middle-class, affordable family homes. That, matter of fact, I have a daughter who's looking for a nice home. And I just don't think this is a place for it. Why? And if you look at different developments around, they do not have townhouses with residential homes right beside it, sandwiched in between. They're like on the one on Whittier, it's in a big open field. And across that is more businesses. They're not sandwiched in between. If you look at Union Square, it was all just built in there in a big open field space. If you look at King's Corners, I believe that's what it is, where they've leveled all the trees behind there, that's basically was just a big open field. It wasn't sandwiched in between residential homes on both sides of the street. And perhaps the old school on Buffalo Road right at the end of Attridge, which has been vacant for a while, maybe that's a place to a better use of that particular property, to put a townhouse over there, although I'm not in favor of that. But there is something you could sell really cheap to the developer. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who'd like to speak at the public hearing?
Hi, I'm Joy Schuin, 36 Attridge. I'm across the street from Bill and Linda. We've lived there for 23 years now, and over these 23 years, we've put over $50,000 in the renovation of our barn. I hope some of you have noticed that. And part of the reason for that was to keep the character of our property and to invest in our community. My husband grew up in Churchville, and I don't want to see this turn into, a Greece, can't think of the Ridge Road, okay? I don't want it to be that way. I want it for our children, our grandchildren to be safe. I think the blacktop is just going to be an eyesore. No green space, and the amount of proposed buildings on that lot, the number of homes, the number of people you're adding, the number of cars you're adding, that changes the character completely. And I vote no.
Eric Nagel, 3307 Union Street. I just want to be transparent that I'm not for or against this project or the rezoning, but I would like to ask the board to consider what, if any, kind of precedent does this set for others looking to develop other mixed-use retail residential projects in the area, and that I think it's worth noting that it's a pretty popular model to have mixed residential and retail, like some of the other people have already mentioned. So I just had that question, and I just wanted that on the record.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Dunning and town board members. I thank you for allowing me to speak this evening. I have lived in North Charli for many, many years.
Could I have your name and address, please?
Oh, yes, Valerie Pagano. My family home is 51 Attridge Road. And I just want to say that in North Chi-Lai, we are very, very fortunate to have within our community a variety of affordable housing to serve the needs of all who want a better life. But just to name a few of the things that are happening here with Union Square, Chi-Lai Commons, Meadowbrook, North-South, Union Station, College Green, Cottage Grove, Hubbard Springs. And I even saw today more building and construction in back of Union Station. And I said to myself, what is going on? The traffic, it's just insane. So, but my concern is with the development that's going on in this relatively small space, this small piece of land, which actually backs up to wetlands. So my question for the board is, has there been an environmental impact statement, or at the very least, an environmental assessment that does address noise pollution, traffic patterns, drainage, impact on the habitat, and of course the endangered tree frogs I just heard about today, so we got to worry about them too. So my suggestion is, and some of you have already talked about it, maybe a park, maybe more, a few patio homes, single-family patio homes would be nice there. That would be about keeping within the surrounding area the same kind of look. So I hope that this does not go through. And thank you all for coming tonight.
Valerie, I'd like to answer your question about the environment, because that's important. That's actually a planning board effort, the environmental impact studies that's done. That is the SEQR process. That's the Environmental Quality Review Act, and that is something that is done for a site plan by the planning board. We do SEQR for a rezone, but it doesn't apply to what I think you're referring to, all the elements in which you talked about.
There would actually be 2 seekers done.
Correct. There's a SEQR
One at
done
this
here
level,
right.
Just for the rezone. And
Right.
then the more intense one, if you may, would be done at planning.
Yeah, a rezone is typically a type 1 action, I believe, for the most part, which is unlisted action, right? And, but the planning board would have a more, I'll use the word intense again, if I may, use of SEQR, where they go through, the applicant and the planning board go through a much more intense process, so.
Thank you.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yep. No, you're good. You're fine.
Hi, I'm Lisa Wagner. I live at 4427 Buffalo Road, so I'm 2 houses down. Respectfully, in my opinion and the opinion of my neighbors, this is very intense. This is very intense for our neighborhood, and I am concerned. I would be open for, other families to live here who want to stay. I've lived here almost 30 years, single parent, raised my family here, made my house the way I wanted it. I like it here. I know things have changed in North Chi-Lai, but just from hearing my neighbors come here and speak, I'm proud to be a North Chi-Lai.
Anyone else like to speak at the public hearing?
Yes, hi, it's David Meyer, 26 Pleasant View Drive. I grew up in Chi-Lai. I went to college in Chi-Lai. I bought a home in Chi-Lai 37 years ago with my wife and has raised my family in Chi-Lai. I bought in Chi-Lai because it was close enough to the city that we could enjoy city life, but it was far enough away that we could enjoy the country life and quietness and darkness, and we can see the stars and all of that. And I feel like since we've been here for 37 years, the whole area is changing. It's becoming much more like the city. We've got all kinds of developments like this in our town now, and it's getting worse. via this project here. So I would like to just stand with my neighbors, some of them my friends, and tell you that I'm opposed to this project going forward. And I would like to ask you and appeal to you to shoot it down before it gets to the planning board and they have to make those other decisions and all that, or they make any changes. So I might sound a little harsh, but I thank you all for the job that you're doing in Chi-Li.
Thank you.
We really appreciate what you're doing.
Is there anyone else that'd like to speak at the public hearing? Mary, you had a question?
I did have one question. Sorry, I'm coughing. These allergies are killing me tonight. One of the things that occurs to me as I sit and listen to everyone here is the developer does own the property. He does have the right to develop on that property. As the supervisor has alluded to, all of the things that could go there. So as I sit here and I listen, I think to myself, okay, if this project is turned down by us, what do you guys plan to do with that property if this project doesn't move forward? I guess that's the one thing. I mean, because you very well could put a Burger King in there without us doing anything. So I guess I'm wondering if this does get turned down, what would you do?
Good evening. I'm Joe Gizzi. I'm the developer on the site. To answer your question, we don't currently have plans for what we would do with the site. Currently, as Chris mentioned, the site, the professional building's vacant. So we've had it for lease for several years, and we've had no luck. So, we're not proposing to put in low-income housing by any stretch of the imagination. These are, very nice townhomes. They actually look just like a standard single-family home. They're not your typical 8-unit garden-style apartment like you see over in maybe Windsor Gardens or Gilder-style square buildings. So yeah, currently we don't have any plans if this doesn't go forward. We're obviously going to beautify the area. I mean, if you look at any of the projects that we do, we don't, we do things to the best of, what we can. We live in this community. I take my kids to Churchville Chi-Li every day. I've grown up here. I've been here for 40 years. So I'm in the town of North Chi-Li. I frequent all the businesses, Jitters, Tim Hortons, Dunkin' Donuts. We're all there. We all work there. We live right down the road. Granted, we don't live in Chi-Li, but we do live in Ogden, just on the cusp of Chi-Li. So, we're not a developer from Florida looking to come in and slam some townhomes in and then take off. That's not what we do.
Okay,
I'm open to any questions too, if anybody has questions.
No, Joe, no. This is a public hearing for the town board to hear from the residents. If the residents would like to, if they'd like to feed a question, they can either grab you outside this meeting, or they can ask the question to the town board, and if we have a question, we'll direct it to you. All right?
Yeah.
So in fairness to, and this is in fairness to you, in fairness to the residents, so we keep everything under control. if there's a question if you're done, have a seat, and I'll address if the resident has a question for us to address, we'll address it. Okay?
James, you.
So,
Joe, were single-family houses ever considered?
No.
And what's the reason for that?
We don't build single-family homes typically, and, we have the biggest concern is the professional building, repurposing that, because as you mentioned, that type of use is non-existent. No one wants to be in a half basement. They all want to be ground level plaza style.
So that was still going to be on the site regardless, so that was always going to be.
Right. So, I mean, we're looking at, I know it seems like, it looks like a lot, but we're looking at 20 potential units of townhomes. And currently, what you see there now is not very attractive. And, to address some of the concerns about the drainage, when this project is developed, the drainage is going to be part of that whole package. If there's any issues with drainage and any residents on Attridge Road, they're certainly going to be in a better position after we're done than they are now, because there's nothing going on in that site. You know, as far as the professional building, it's totally vacant. I'm sure the neighbors that live in the area see that there's no cars going in and out of there at all. So what do you do with a building like that? You know, I get it that it was zoned, you know, the zoning was put in place 50 years ago for that style property, but it doesn't work anymore. And that's the purpose of the zoning board, is to change the zoning on these properties so that you can repurpose a piece of property. If you look at, you know, a lot of the big lots and the department stores that have gone out of business, they're not putting new big lots back in there. They're coming up with new concepts that work, that people can use the properties for. And that's what we're looking to do here, is to repurpose the property. And 100%, the families that live in these homes will 100% use the restaurants. North Shiloh Family Restaurant, which I'm at weekly, they'll be using the restaurant, they'll use Jitters. All them businesses could use support in that area. We all know that the plaza across the street is in rough shape. That can certainly use some support, right? The property across the street that the town owns, it's been for sale for a year, run down. Something's got to happen there, right? Are we going to keep it the same similar use that it is now, or is the town going to allow someone to come in and repurpose it? Because if not, it's going to stay just like it is now, vacant. And that's the same exact situation we have across the street. We have a vacant piece of property. Clearly, we've tried to put tenants in there. We've had doctors, pediatricians, dentists, surgeons. We've had Department of Transportation. They rent out of there. I mean, things change, and what used to work doesn't work anymore, and we're trying to develop something that will work for the community. And it also brings tax revenue to the town, right? This property would be redeveloped. The tax assessment would go through the roof on this. The town benefits from it. You know, and we're not bringing in, overnighters. We're currently building these in Ogden, and we have tenants that have been there now 3 years. We have professors at Roberts Wesleyan College. We have nursing students at the University of Rochester. We had a professional hockey player living with us for 1.5 years. We have retired state police. We have zero issues. I don't think the police have been through our site one time. You know, we manage the properties. I'm on site every day. We're there consistently. We manage our own property. We don't sub that out to anybody to handle. You know, we don't allow tenants to hang flags and do things that are not consistent with the look of the neighborhood. If you drive through our project at any time, most of our garage doors are closed. We don't allow tenants to leave their garage doors open. We don't tolerate barking dogs. We don't allow people to park in the road. You know, we're very stringent on what we allow because we want the property to look clean and neat.
Going back to one of the issues that came up about previous, and you raised it again, was vacant buildings. And I think as a town board, you know, one of our responsibilities is to help support getting vacant properties occupied. I mean, we still look at a Walgreens that's been vacant for, 4 or 5 years now, trying to get a tenant, to come in and occupy. Fortunately, they've kept that building up. So, you know, trying to fill vacant buildings is not an easy thing, and especially when we're dealing with office buildings. Office buildings are dead. They're gone. People don't rent office space anymore. They just don't do it. You got people working from home since COVID. It's changed the dynamic of everything in here. And I will say, you know, it's absolutely true. We've had some challenges, and Joe knows this, as does Mr. Nagel knows this. We've had some challenges with the property over in our property, the Buffalo Road, the old community center, the old school there. We've had some challenges there. It's a vacant building that really, quite frankly, interior is starting to deteriorate a little bit. And, you know, we'd like to get something like that. So, you know, trying to get some activity in North Shiloh is not necessarily a bad thing for us to be able to sell our property and unload that. And I will say, you know, one of the things that I will say, my experience with the developer here has been nothing but good. What they do, what they say they're going to do, they do. And I've been always very impressed with our interactions. We've discussed a lot of different projects over the years with them and different things they want to do, and I've seen pretty much every one of their projects that they've developed. They do maintain them very well, and they take care of their properties, and they build a nice-looking unit. So I think at the end of the day, one of the things this board is going to need to look at is, again, what can be done there, and what this would do to the property versus what can be done in the property currently. So that's one of those things. And do we want to look at a vacant building for the next 10 years or longer, which is quite frankly a possibility. We don't know. We don't know. But then again, maybe they'll change their mind and want to build a Burger King, or maybe Long John Silver's. That's the one I'd prefer, Long John Silver's. So if you bring me a Long John Silver's, we're all good. No, I jest. But anyways, I mean, those are the things that can be done there. So, Joe, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
Is there anyone else who'd like to speak at the public hearing? Yes, ma'am.
I just want clarification. Hi, my name's Florence Wood. I live at Springbrook Drive. Is this going to be a Pumpkin Hill situation where the people own it? It sounds like you're going to rent these out.
We own them.
I get it.
We own them, we
So
rent
why
them.
can't people buy them like they do Pumpkin Hill?
We don't build them to sell. So we own them, we rent them, and it's a better situation for everybody because we're responsible for the unit. If we sell off 20 individual units, then you have 20 individual residents living there that can live however they want, do whatever they want. When we manage them, they follow our rules, right? So if we sell them, which is not in the best interest of the town, then they can do whatever they want. We don't allow that. We manage them.
And he's absolutely right on the, each one of those, if they sold these, and this was done over on the Greenwood Townhomes on Powell Road next to Wegmans, each one of those units is actually on an individual lot. So those can be sold, because every one of those has their own lot line, although one owner owns, well, at least one owner, maybe more, own that whole project right now, but it was developed with the intent that perhaps someday they could sell them individually, and that's what they'd have to do here. That's not really what the town would want. The town would not want these divided up into individual lots.
So I'm sorry, Joe. So quick. So in reference to renting, they don't pay property tax, they pay school tax?
They pay property tax.
You pay property tax and school tax?
They pay it all.
They pay it.
The owner of a property always pays the taxes. Now, a leasee, or, in the case, may pay, someone leasing the property, obviously is leasing it knowing that, guess what, they're actually paying the taxes because the guy who owns the property is not going to just, float the taxes for him. So the leases that are developed are designed with the intent that it includes what the taxes would be on the property. So, but they pay them all, town and county and school. They pay them all.
Thanks.
I have one more question. So
Please, step up, please.
If you guys are going to own the property and
Please, you could direct your question here, please.
So they're going to own the property, right? So if we have the drainage problem, do we address them if this goes through?
You would initially address the planning board,
Okay.
right? And then if the planning board does not resolve the issues, if it's related to this project,
Right.
then yeah, you would address them.
Okay.
There would be a public hearing at the planning board.
Right, and you would be able
If
to.
this went through, the planning board would hold a meeting similar to this, and you would go to that meeting and discuss your
Okay,
issues.
so if it does, so once we go to the planning board and it's a yes, they build, and we still have water problems, we don't deal with
If
you
it's,
guys anymore?
if it's caused by the development.
Right.
Right? If it's
Okay.
caused by the development, and I don't know how you end up proving that. I'm not,
Yeah.
it's above my pay grade. I don't know how that works.
Right.
But I think the first thing to do would be, you could talk to our Department of Public Works.
Right.
And then, certainly we would talk with the property owners. And that would be true for a neighbor, another business, or anything else. That'd be the same thing. If a neighboring property causes a problem on your property, we can help with some intervention in that.
Yeah, but definitely go to the planning board and bring it to their attention
Right.
that the issue
Yeah.
exists.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, thanks.
Anyone else like to speak at the public hearing?
Amy, 20 Ramblewood Drive. Just a point of clarification, if they did sell the individual units, there's many little communities, they have homeowners associations where they would have to demand certain things that were done with the property from the owners. So that's just a point of clarification. It wouldn't be just a mess if they didn't, if they did it that way.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak at the public hearing? Then I would like to just remind or put in for the record that we did receive a written and signed some comments and feedback from a Jenny Servo. The town board did get a copy of this so that everyone did get to see this, but I just want to make sure that it's for the record that you're acknowledging we did receive that. So at this time then I will close, seeing that there's no other comment, I will close the public hearing and we'll move on to our second public hearing. I want to thank you. Thank you for joining us tonight. You need a minute to tear down here and then we'll do. If you're not staying, we'll take a break for a quick minute and let you go ahead and go about your business. So have a good evening.
I understand now. You're saying just the,
I know.
and then the other one, they can do the doubles.
Yes.
Yeah.
How are you?
It solves is being able to rezone that, just that.
No, we don't vote tonight. No, we wouldn't vote at all until next meeting in July, June. I said that beginning, June is the next meeting. And you'll see it on the agenda, it'll be on the agenda.
Single families. I don't remember when the phones wanted to do that.
Well, we did hear everything here. We did hear, well, they came with a much bigger thing before. It was huge. It was 3 stories high. I think there was, I can't remember how many units, so. Well, do you want to look at a vacant building for the next 20 years? Well, the yard, where they took the house down? There's no grassy area. The house is right. There was a house there. You're talking about are you talking about the area in front of the the garage there? Oh.
It's kind of a.
Well, you're using the
okay.
existing building.
Yeah. But those would be things that'd be brought up at planning board though too if it gets there.
You're selling the building. Stuff in the GV.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Good night.
All right, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the second public hearing. Second public hearing is for local law of 2023 to amend Chapter 369, peddling and soliciting in the town code. Is there anyone that would like to speak at this public hearing? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing, and we'll move to the third public hearing for this evening, which is. Thank you. You can take it outside if you'd like to have the conversation, please. Thank you. The third public hearing is for the local law of 2023, amendments to section of the town code to remove imprisonment from penalties for offenses. Is there anyone that would like to speak at that public hearing? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and we will move on to the public forum. Is there anyone that would like to speak at the public forum? Please step up, state your name and address for the record, and you'll be heard.
My name is Tom Ellis, 143 University, City of Rochester. I'd like to thank Supervisor Dunning and the board for allowing me to speak tonight. I have some material that I'd like to provide to the board, if that's all right.
You want to give the supervisor the one for the microphone? Or you can have him look at it, okay?
I'd like to discuss staying the demolition on 768 Marshall Road. I believe the property is being demolished as part of a confusing circumstance. I've been in contact with Majority Paul Wanzenride, the building department, since January, and I believe that the initial idea to demolish the property was in the best interest of the taxpayers, because what was happening is the property got caught up in a weird cycle where third-party tax liens were sold, so the county lost control of it. And then during the COVID pandemic, foreclosures got put on hold for 3 years, and this property at 768 Marshall Road became, what people reference as a zombie property. And, getting to witness these impassioned residents tonight, and what really makes the fabric of the town of Chili, if I was a neighbor to that property, I would be contacting this board to try to get something to happen. And if you read through the dialogue that I presented in this, I expressed that. I think it's amazing that the town, instead of sitting around waiting for the county to do something, they took action to use the town code to protect their residents instead of waiting around for someone to handle their business. During that time period, I think there was some miscommunication. The County of Monroe started a tax foreclosure in 2020 that got held up due to COVID, and then a sale was completed in January 2023. Included in this package under the sale tablet is a memorandum of purchase of the County of Monroe selling the property to myself, Tom Ellis, for the full amount of back taxes owed to Monroe County. And as part of our due diligence, this demolition proceeding did not file what's known as a pendency of demolition with Monroe County, so it wasn't in the public record that this property was being demolished, so the county wasn't aware of that. So they sold the property on January 19th, which was a Thursday, and I was the successful winning bidder. On Monday, the following Monday after January 19th, I was in the building department office to see who I needed to speak to about what I found out was a pending demolition on the property. I was directed, I found the filings and the board meetings for the demolition and saw a lot of the names up here in it. I went to the building department to start my conversation, was told that Paul was the gentleman that I should speak with. And I went down there in person as opposed to handling it via phone or email or through some attorney. I thought that that would be the best way to handle it. And that conversation started in around January 23rd or January 24th. By January 31st, I was directed to Jared Hurt, who was the counselor for the town. I proactively reached out to him, and we began dialogue on January 31st. He presented to me exactly what it was my understanding that he and the town wanted in order to continue to consider staying the demolition. And he provided that to me Tuesday, January 31st at 2:13. Within less than 24 hours, I had the full package of information that he was requesting, which is not just a single piece of paper. It's in here. It was a 7-page document prepared from scratch because I thought, time was of the essence, so I wanted to show the town that I was not dragging my feet on it. So I had that back. I got the information January 31st. Sorry about that?
30 seconds. You have 5 minutes of public forum.
I provided the information January 31st and gave it to them by February 1st. My understanding is the property is up for being demolished tonight to pay $27,000 to have it demolished. If you go to the tab that says saving to taxpayers, I think it's a $100,000 swing in the direction of the taxpayers to not demolish the property. Mr. Dunning tonight said on the record that part of the goal of the town board is to fill vacant properties. We are here to fill a vacant property with your help. It's outlined in this package. There is no rush to move to demolish that property. It has been there for 50 years. It is the fabric. Instead of putting up, townhouses are needed in a town, but this is a small home for a family that's starting out. We would have no problem putting a deed restriction on it that is not a rental. We're not looking to milk the town for anything. We want to take this property, make it performing on the tax rolls, and it is the fabric of the town. It's existed there. And we've already, We have already done work to the property. Mr. Wanzeride had asked us to continue to care for it. We have photos in here showing, he called us and said, hey, the neighbors are complaining that the property's overgrown. We haven't even taken title to it because we can't until the demolition has stayed. Otherwise, we're responsible for the demolition. We went over there and cleaned the property up in less than 24 hours. A few days after that, I got notice that, hey, this is basically, the words were, it's just too confusing. We can't figure it out. We're going to demolish the property. I said, did you look and see the work that I did when you called me? He said, no, I haven't been over there yet.
Mr. Ellis, the public forum is limited to 5 minutes, and you exceeded that at this point, so I'm going to ask you to, there is no dialogue at the public forum.
Yep,
so
thank you for your time. I appreciate it. I don't want to seem to come off combative. If you read the full dialogue in there, you guys do a great job. It's amazing the town. I've never been to such an impassioned board meeting.
When you say
and,
we, who is we?
We're not having a dialogue right at this point. We don't have a dialogue during public forum. We're not going to start now.
Sorry, I guess that's like the royal we. It's myself and my brother who's not here, so I apologize about that.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Board member can ask a question. No?
Moving right along, we do have, under matters of the supervisor, again, we do have the Memorial Day Parade coming up soon here, next week, I believe, right? Somewhere in that, a week from Monday. For a note, the parade start is now going to be at the Aldi's Plaza there, the Aldi's Big Lots Plaza. The veterans were a little wondering whether or not they were going to be able to walk the long distance from Grinnell all the way down into the community center, because the ceremony will be held at the community center. So,
Supervisor, there's no parking there for those of us who are marching, correct? In that plaza?
You can park in there. Yeah, you can park in there, but you're
Parking
probably better
waivers.
off. You're probably better off parking in the if you're better off parking at the community center and hitching a ride over, or having someone drop you off over there, or whatever.
I'll be there.
But nonetheless, so the veterans were torn between not having just doing a service and no parade, and having a parade. So we secured the parking lot for staging there to shorten that distance for some of our elder people there. So other than that, just. Other than that, I just want to.
Sorry, we keep interrupting. I'm sorry.
Other than that, yes, there's the Chili Fest is the June 24th. The parade will go on. That's 4:30 that evening. The parade will take the old parade route down Paul Road, coming up Chili Avenue into the community center. There's a whole new layout for that. They've put a lot of extra attention based on some feedback on some more family-friendly type things, and get away from some of the bounce houses, get into some more interesting type activities. So that's a good thing. And again, I'd just like to congratulate and thank Councilman Slattery for what he's doing for these charities. I'd hoped I'd see another text message come back from him. Last I knew, he was in the shower. So, so I just
sorry.
just getting into the shower. I'm sorry. So we'll follow up with him. But anybody that's interested is michaelscharityRide.com. He has been posting some updates on there. So other than that, matters of the council. Anyone have anything?
No.
All right. We do have the approval of minutes from the last meeting, and also there have been several reports submitted. Under new business, we have Resolution 135, seeker declaration for the intent for lead agency status to consider the incentive zoning proposal of 296 Fisher Road. Moved by Councilman Zakori. Second by Councilwoman Spare. Questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Councilman Decory.
Aye.
Councilwoman Spare.
Aye.
Councilman Valerio.
Aye.
Supervisor Dunning.
Aye, passes 5-0. Resolution 130. Huh?
There's only four of us.
Oh, that's 4-0. I'm thinking 4. What are you saying? 4-0. Thank you.
Excuse me.
Resolution 136, set a public hearing to consider adoption for incentive zoning for 296 Fisher Road.
Moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilman DeCory, seconded by Councilwoman Spare. Questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Councilman DeCory?
Aye.
Councilwoman Spare?
Aye.
Councilman Valerio?
Aye.
Supervisor Dunning?
Aye, passes 4-0. Resolution 137, donation to senior center trust and agency account. Moved by
Second.
Councilman Valerio, seconded by Councilwoman Spare. Questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Councilman DeCory?
Aye.
Councilwoman Spare?
Aye.
Councilman Valerio?
Aye.
Supervisor Dunning?
Aye, passes 4-0. Resolution 139, Library Board of Trustees.
Oh, no,
Oh,
138.
38.
138.
Oh,
138, bike ride.
man, I'm not going good here tonight. Resolution 138, bike ride for National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Moved by Councilwoman Spare.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Valerio. Questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Councilman DeCory?
Aye.
Councilwoman Spare?
Aye.
Councilman Valerio?
Aye.
Supervisor Dunning?
Aye, passes 4-0. Now, Resolution 139, Library Board of Trustees. Moved by Councilwoman Spare. Second by Councilman Valerio. Questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Councilman DeCory?
Aye.
Councilwoman Spare?
Aye.
Councilman Valerio?
Aye.
Supervisor Dunning?
Aye, passes 4-0. Resolution 140, Sexual Harassment Prevention Policy.
Move.
Moved by Councilman DeCory.
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Spare. Questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Councilman DeCory?
Aye.
Councilwoman Spare?
Aye.
Councilman Valerio?
Aye.
Supervisor Dunning?
Aye, passes 4-0. Resolution 141, Records Management Policies and Procedures.
Aye.
You're just as bad as me tonight. Moved by Councilman Valerio.
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Spare. Questions or comments? Roll call,
I feel like I want to
please.
say here.
Councilman DeCory?
Aye.
Councilwoman Spare?
Aye.
Councilman Valerio?
Aye.
Supervisor Dunning?
Aye, passes 4-0. Now I lost which one I was on.
142.
142.
Thank you. Resolution 142, ARPA SLFRF funds for an MVP grant.
Second.
Pick one.
Moved by Councilman DeCory, seconded by Councilwoman Spare. Questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Councilman DeCory?
Aye.
Councilwoman Spare?
Aye.
Councilman Valerio?
Aye.
Supervisor Dunning?
Aye, passes 4-0. Resolution 143, charging stations.
Move.
Moved by Councilman DeCory, seconded by Councilman Valerio. Questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Councilman DeCory?
Aye.
Councilwoman Spare?
Aye.
Councilman Valerio?
Aye.
Supervisor Dunning?
Aye, passes 4-0. Resolution 144, ARPA SLFRF funds Veterans Memorial.
Moved.
Moved by Councilwoman Spare, second by Councilman Valerio. I just want to say, on this one, I'm really, really glad to bring this resolution forward. As you know, with the sale of our old building, the old memorial was, it's been placed over at a temporary location, but we thought it'd be really more fitting to do something more fitting of the community center and the amount of people that would get to see a much nicer memorial. So I just want to say, think this is a very good thing for us. So with that, if any other questions or comments, could I have a roll call, please?
Councilman DeCory?
Aye.
Councilwoman Spare?
Aye.
Councilman Valerio?
Aye.
Supervisor Dunning?
Aye. Passes 4-0. Thank you very much. Resolution 145, Child Life Fire Department active list. Moved by Councilman Valerio.
Second.
Second by Councilman DeCory. Questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Councilman DeCory?
Aye.
Councilwoman Spare?
Aye.
Councilman Valerio?
Aye.
Supervisor Dunning?
Aye. Resolution passes 4-0. Resolution 146, Child Life Fire Department exempt list.
Moved.
Moved by Councilwoman Spare.
Second.
Second by Councilman DeCory. Questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Councilman DeCory?
Aye.
Councilwoman Spare?
Aye.
Councilman Valerio?
Aye.
Supervisor Dunning?
Aye, passes 4-0. Resolution 147, CHIPS budget amendment.
Moved.
Moved by Councilman Valerio, seconded by Councilwoman Spare. Questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Councilman DeCory?
Aye.
Councilwoman Spare?
Aye.
Councilman Valerio?
Aye.
Supervisor Dunning?
Aye, passes 4-0. Resolution 148, highway floor repair.
Move.
Moved by Councilman DeCory, seconded by Councilman Valerio. Questions or comments?
I'm surprised that this went that quick. Jeez. Really?
The floor?
Flooring, yeah. I'm surprised the flooring didn't last long. A little bit? Okay.
Any other questions or comments? No. Roll call, please.
Councilman DeCory?
Aye.
Councilwoman Spare?
Aye.
Councilman Valerio?
Aye.
Supervisor Dunning?
Aye, passes 4-0. Resolution 149, authorization to hire Lou Engineers for the preparation of bid documents for cold storage renovations.
Move.
Moved by
Second.
Councilman DeCory, second by Councilman Spare. Questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Councilman DeCory?
Aye.
Councilwoman Spare?
Aye.
Councilman Valerio?
Aye.
Supervisor Dunning?
Aye, passes 4-0. Resolution 150, authorization to hire Lou Engineers for the preparation of bid documents for Veterans Memorial. Moved by Councilman Valerio,
Second.
second by Councilman DeCory. Questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Councilman DeCory?
Aye.
Councilwoman Spare?
Aye.
Councilman Valerio?
Aye.
Supervisor Dunning?
Aye, passes 4-0. Resolution 151, 2023 Summer Camp.
Move.
Second.
Moved by Councilman DeCory, second by Councilwoman Spare. Questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Councilman DeCory?
Aye.
Councilwoman Spare?
Aye.
Councilman Valerio?
Aye.
Supervisor Dunning?
Aye, passes 4-0. Resolution 152, demolition award for 768 Marshall Road, tax map number 134.17-3-91.
Supervisor, in light of the information that was brought to our attention tonight, is it possible that we could table this resolution to be able to study a little bit about the information that was brought forward? It seems reasonable to me.
Is there a motion?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion to table it.
Yeah,
Table.
On the
Till the June 14th.
Motion to table Resolution 152 to the June meeting.
Yes.
There's a motion. On the motion to table, can I have a roll call?
Councilman DeCory?
Aye.
Councilwoman Spare?
Aye.
Councilman Valerio?
Aye.
Supervisor Dunning?
No. The item is then tabled till the June meeting. Resolution 153, I would like to move Resolution 153 in memorial of Joseph Sherwood, and the town board would second this. I will read this resolution in its entirety. Whereas the town board of the town of Chi-Li finds it befitting to extend its deepest sympathies to the Sherwood family during the passing of Joseph Sherwood, who on May 9th, 2023 passed away. And whereas Joseph Sherwood served from 4/22/1963 to 7/3/1995 as an MEO1 in the Highway Department. And now therefore be it resolved that the town board, the town of Chi-Li hereby sets aside this special page of their minutes from this town board meeting in his honor and takes a moment of silence in Joseph Sherwood's memory. The town clerk is hereby directed to send a copy of this resolution to the Sherwood family. We will take a motion.
No, you made the motion.
I made the motion, town board seconded.
Board seconded.
Roll call, please.
Councilman DeCory?
Aye.
Councilwoman Spare?
Aye.
Councilman Valerio?
Aye.
Supervisor Dunning?
Aye, passes 4-0. At this time, we'll take a moment of silence in the memory of Joseph Sherwood. Thank you. Resolution 154, Friends of the Library donation. Moved by Councilman Valerio, seconded by Councilman DeCory.
I'm good.
Questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Councilman DeCory?
Aye.
Councilwoman Spare?
Aye.
Councilman Valerio?
Aye.
Supervisor Dunning?
Aye, passes 4-0. Resolution 155, April 19th, 2023, abstract.
Move.
Moved by Councilman DeCory,
Second.
seconded by Councilman Spare. Questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Councilman DeCory?
Aye.
Councilwoman Spare?
Aye.
Councilman Valerio?
Aye.
Supervisor Dunning?
Aye, passes 4-0. Resolution 156, May 3rd, 2023, abstract.
Moved.
Moved by Councilwoman Spare,
Second.
seconded by Councilman DeCory. Questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Councilman DeCory?
Aye.
Councilwoman Spare?
Aye.
Councilman Valerio?
Aye.
Supervisor Dunning?
Aye, passes 4-0. Resolution 157, May 17th, 2023, abstract. Moved by Councilman Valerio,
Second.
second by Councilman DeCory. Questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Councilman DeCory?
Aye.
Councilwoman Spare?
Aye.
Councilman Valerio? Supervisor Dunning?
Aye, passes 4-0. The next meeting of the Chi-Li Town Board will be June 14th at 7 p.m. This meeting is adjourned.